And welcome. This is Your City in Action here on Salina Community Access Television. I'm your host, Todd Pittenger, from the Rockingham Media group of radio stations. Rockingham Media, we now have 31 radio stations across Kansas, mainly western Kansas, 6 radio stations here in Salina, 2 radio stations now in Wichita, and then spread out all across western Kansas. But most importantly, News Radio 1150 KSAL is my baby. I'm the news director of that. So thank you for joining us today. Another great show lined up. Soon to be City Commissioner. Do I call you that, or do I call you City Commissioner elect?
Soon to be.
Soon to be City Commissioner Mike Hoppock.
Yes.
Sir, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Todd. Appreciate it.
Let's start out, the first time on the show with us. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm married. My wife and I, Polly, have lived in Salina for a little over 38 years. We're both Marymount College graduates. We have 3 children that we raised here in Salina. All 3 went through USD 305. Fortunate enough that 2 of those have moved back and started their career here in Salina. So we love Salina. It's been a great community, and so I'm anxious to be able to serve Salina in a new position. Well,
just personally, I see you all the time because the radio station is right beside Land Title Services where you work. I see you hanging out down there in the parking lot all the time. So good to see you now on a more professional basis as well. Just elected Salina City Commissioner in the November election. You'll take over first meeting of January. Why in the heck would you want to get into that? Because there's been a little bit of controversy here recently with the Salina City Commission. Why would you want to get involved in that?
Well, you're not the first one to ask that. My wife was the first one to ask me why I wanted to do it. Actually, Todd, there's several reasons. One of them is, there has been some controversy, and I want to bring back that professionalism to the commission. As you may have, you probably read in the journal today, there was a meeting between the city and county commission yesterday. New commissioner-elect, also Joe Hayan, and myself attended that, and the atmosphere was wonderful. You could tell that the city and the county commissioners, the ones that are seated now, both for the city and county, are looking forward to working together. We're trying to build that professional relationship not only with the county, but with USD 305, the Chamber of Commerce, all of our partners. And it's about communication, and we're going to open up the lines of communication, and hopefully we're all going to find out ways that they can't do in Washington, D.C. anymore, but find ways to compromise and to move the community forward.
Because theoretically, it is a nonpartisan position. It's not Republicans, it's not Democrats, it's Salinans on the Salina City Commission. Well, let's delve right into the issues then. Okay. You're not officially a commissioner yet, but you said you were at a meeting yesterday, and I know it was over on county ground, right across the street from the Tony's Pizza Event Center. That's been a bit of a contentious issue for quite some time now. That sits on land that the city owns, but the county owns the buildings. So that's been a little bit of an issue. It seems to me maybe we're getting close, maybe to a resolution.
We're working on it. And again, yesterday was the first actual meeting that I had attended dealing with that.
Observer this time.
As an observer. But I think they've decided that they're going to have some plans kind of drawn up. Again, you have to have something to look at to kind of figure out what the price tag is. And again, what people need to realize is if the county's paying for it, 85% of the county is still made up of the city population. So
still my taxpaying
it's still
dollar,
your taxpaying dollars,
or city dollar.
So I think both the city commissioners and the county commissioners want to be able to do what's necessary to make the facility usable. To me, from just looking at it, there's actually a lot of deferred maintenance. We talk about upgrades, but I think some of it could be considered deferred maintenance. So we want to make that facility usable. We also talked to them about, how can we use the Tony's Event Pizza Center. Again, we need to cooperate with them, and they can maybe use it for the rodeo or some events. So we need to, because that facility's not used all the time. So we need to see what we can do that will benefit us. So the talks have started. I think we're going to. I always like to, and you'll probably hear it again. A lot of the things I refer back to the movie What About Bob? It's baby steps.
Baby steps. I was just going to say that baby steps. But at least it's progress.
It's progress.
It is progress. Again, this is Your City in Action here on Salina Community Access TV. Speaking with Mike Hoppock, soon to be Salina City Commissioner. I know you've got a downtown business. You've been involved off and on with the Salina Area Chamber of Commerce. I work at a downtown Salina business, so I guess so selfishly, I am excited to see what's happening downtown. The KU School of Medicine is literally across the street from my radio station. I see it come to life day by day. It's looking beautiful. I know we're going to have a new restaurant downtown. The streetscape is soon to begin. What are your thoughts on everything that's happening? I know it's going to be a minor inconvenience here pretty shortly, but for the long term, it's going to be a good thing.
The first thing I ask the viewers is, when we're going through the construction, please come downtown and support those merchants, because the important thing is we want them there when the streetscape's done.
It won't be real easy to get there, but it will still be possible to get there, and it will be business as usual.
Yeah, it sounds like now they're going to start the streetscape from the south and move north. So the first, probably from Mulberry to Iron Street will be the first portion that's going to be torn up.
And you'll see some houses have disappeared now in that area. That's where a hotel is going to spring up.
The hotel's going to go in there at the corner of Mulberry and Santa Fe, and so they've started removing some buildings. You know, some of that's going to be used for parking and different things. So it is an exciting time for Salina. You know, Salina is unique in the fact that we basically have two retail areas. We have the South 9th Street corridor, and then we have the downtown area. So I think they need to be able to work together, and I think the downtown revitalization will hopefully help bring people in. The field house, you know, was built and opened up here.
I watched that day by day come to. Literally, I would go stand on the window. We're on the 3rd floor, top of the building, and just stand in the window and watch the cranes and the building come to life day by day.
So that's exciting. That hopefully that continues to grow in its usage, and we bring people into the community that will, you know, come downtown. There's the new alley that's going to go in there at the corner of Santa Fe and Ash, and
near the post office.
Near the post office, and the KU School of Medicine and nursing. Don't forget, we're bringing that to the community.
Absolutely.
That's you know, that's the smallest medical school in the country, but it's been very successful.
And in my mind, the best medical school, because it's training doctors to work in small towns.
Right. And actually the nurses the nursing students have kind of made a commitment that they're from Kansas. They want to kind of stay in this area or western Kansas. So
and
that
again,
building.
Let's say that's not any city dollars. That's all on their own. That's the University of Kansas on their own doing it.
Yes, that's the University of Kansas. That's the
Salina
Regional Health Center. The foundation actually owns the building. The Salina Regional Health Center Foundation. Donations from the community also. I mean, that's what I think a lot of people aren't aware of, is what a giving community we have. We've done a lot of things in partnership that we'll continue to look at as a city commission, I would think. The field house was that way. The Stiefel Theater, the Salina Community Theater.
The soccer fields.
Soccer fields.
We've just signed an agreement with the soccer club in Kansas City, which is going to be a big boom for the soccer fields here in Salina.
So you know, we've done a lot of those things that have been beneficial, and the important thing is that keeps part of the burden off of the taxpayer.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
So that's
the public-private partnership is really turning out to be a big thing here in Salina.
And that's one of the things I kind of ran on. I want to continue to see that, and from being in the business community for 38 years, I think I have a good relationship with the people that we can continue to do that. So,
what do you envision? We've talked about the downtown already, but what do you envision? A couple of other big things that you're immediately going to have to deal with when you become a city commissioner?
Well,
I know the river project.
Looming. Yeah, is looming, and again, that's kind of already been set in place in the fact that they have the tax dollars that are being collected. There's going to have to obviously be some decisions. Not 100% sure what those are as those dollars come into play, and we make the decision.
And that is a long term.
That's a long term. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're looking at, first of all, to try to get some, you know, to get water, you know, get it
to get the
dredged,
silt out of it and get the water flowing.
Get water flowing. You know, how many of the trees have to be removed? I'm guessing has to be. How much of it's going to be walking trails that are paved?
And
how much of it's nature?
Project
a baby,
also.
Yeah. So that's a long term. That'll affect several different commissions going forward.
Several generations, literally.
Yeah. And then it'll be interesting to see what impact that has on the downtown area too. So, you know, right now we also have to deal with the contamination out of the shilling air.
I was going to bring that up as well.
The shilling air.
It looks like maybe baby steps with, I mean, we're using the word, maybe overusing, but that's another thing. There was a meeting 2 weeks ago. I saw you there. I sat at that meeting as well. They're making progress on that also. And that's been going on a long time.
The concerning part of that is they've got the information they need to know now to make the plans of how to keep it out of Salina's water, you know, and keep that contamination from reaching our water supply. But the scary part is we don't know what that price tag is going to be. We have a contract, I believe, and I may be speaking out of turn here or whatever, but I think the federal government's supposed to pay like 90% of the bill, I believe.
That's all public information.
And
right.
we don't know what that total bill is.
Right,
so
and they have to renegotiate that a little bit once they see the total.
Yeah, so that's a little scary from a commission standpoint. That's one of those things. I said it's kind of like putting new tires on your car. It's expensive, but it's not something you really can show off. So
all right, a couple of questions. The yin and the yang. What are you most looking forward to as a city commissioner?
Oh, that's a good question. Just progress. I mean, the downtown, the alley, we have the new car museum. There's several, new hotel going downtown, and there's also a couple, you keep wondering, do we really need more hotel rooms? But there's a couple new hotels going to be going up.
Well, I would say with the Field House, the Tony's Pizza Event Center, the expansion of that, the soccer fields, and the new agreement with Kansas City, we're going to have tournaments here. I'll answer that. I'll say yes. We still need more hotels.
Well, and we're sitting at the intersection of two interstates, and we're seeing restaurants move into the community. Again, those are restaurants that are moving here because they look at the traffic flow, they look at the community. There's no incentives being given to them. They want to be in our community, which I think speaks well for us.
Absolutely, yes.
So, economic development, there's been a new EDO formed. Mitch Robinson's been on board, I think, about a year. I look forward to working with Mitch. We talk about economic development, but I think one of the biggest challenges right now to Salina is finding workers. We're at basically full employment, and we need to.
Which is good and bad.
It's good and bad because to bring in new industry would be tough right now because there's no workforce. But we do have employers out there right now. I've spoken to several of them. They have needs that we don't have in the community, where there's welders or some specialty. So we're going to have to find a way to go out and bring those individuals to our community. So I think you'll see some growth, hopefully, but it will come from our current industries.
All right, so progress is what you're most looking forward to. What's your biggest fear as you go on to the Salina City Commission? Biggest
fear is we've got a lot going on, and so our bonding authority, we're borrowing a lot of money.
Oh, absolutely.
And running a business or a government is no different than running a business or running your own household. You've got to make sure that you don't over obligate yourself, and so we're going to have to make sure that we can offset the bonding we're doing with income. And again, that's bringing people into the community.
So you officially become a city commissioner. You'll be sworn in. I'll be there. I cover it every year. I think first meeting of January, which you won't have a meeting on the 1st.
Right, it's January 8th.
They're giving you New Year's Day off?
Yeah.
So your first meeting.
Slacking already.
That's right. Already getting days off and you haven't even started. Mike Hoppock, soon to be Salina City Commissioner. Anything else you want to add before we
No. Again, I think if you go to the homepage for the city, our email addresses are on there. I know all the city commissioners feel the same way I do. Send us an email if you have a concern or a question. Again, we may not always give you the answer you want, but hopefully we'll give you an answer, and we'll listen to the public. Again, we are elected by the public, and we need to do what's best for the community as a whole.
Let me throw a plug out there for Community Access TV. We were talking off camera. You said as a city commissioner-elect, you've not physically been at every single meeting, but you've sat in your office, had your computer on, had it on in the background. I don't make it to every single city commission meeting. As a matter of fact, I would say the majority of them I am not at, but I see every city commission meeting because of Access TV. They air it on TV. They stream it live online also. So literally, I've got a radio show from 4 to 5, so it's tough for me to be there. I turn it on my computer at my desk. I'm typing stories. I'm answering the phone. I'm working, and I'm watching it on there. So I would say, and then once it's finished, they throw it online, and you can watch it later that evening. So I would say, really, there is no excuse to not know what's happening with your city.
And I would think that anyone that has an interest in being in a position of city commission, county commission, anything in the future, should be watching some of those meetings. And they not only do the city commission, they do the county commission meetings. You'll find planning,
various
boards. So yeah, it's we're lucky to have Access Television. The fact that we all can't make it to a 4 o'clock meeting, but they do stream it again and again with the abilities we have now, you can always record it and fast forward through the parts you don't want to hear too. If
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to get on my soapbox one more time before we leave. Just finished with the national election. There was a big one in the news yesterday. What you do every week at a Salina City Commission meeting, it's going to have more impact on my life and my everyday life than any of those national elections ever will. And I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I ran is, I think I've served on a lot of boards, and I think this is kind of the ultimate opportunity to serve the community. And that's what I consider. I consider it service to the community. But yeah,
you're not going to make a lot. You're not going to get rich doing this.
If you're serving in Washington D.C., you're not going to see the Salina citizen very often. But serving the community and serving on city commission, every time I go out to eat,
I'm going to see you at the grocery store.
Everybody's going to see me. And then I've already had.
I see you in the parking lot every day.
Even before I was elected, I had people giving me suggestions. I'd kind of say, let's wait till the election's over to see if this is just a waste of beer and my time, both, So, but yeah, and that's okay. You listen to them, and sometimes you have an answer, yes or no, why you could or couldn't do something, and other times you just have to take it under advisement. But yeah, every time you go to church, you go to the grocery store, you've got somebody there that is giving you something to think about.
Well, Mike Hoppock, I see you all the time in the parking lot at work. Beginning January 8th, I'll see you on a little more professional basis when I'm at the City Commission meeting. I'll see you at the very least on Community Access TV every Monday, at least for the next 4 years.
4 years. Yeah, I appreciate everything you do for us too.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, soon to be City Commissioner Mike Hoppock, he'll get sworn in. New Commissioner Joe Hay will be sworn in, and Melissa Hodges, who is an appointed commissioner, will get sworn in officially as well on the first meeting in January. That would be January the 8th.
That's correct.
Mike Hoppock, thank you so much for joining us. This has been Your City in Action here on Salina Community Access TV.